So I use buttons here on this channel. Javi's my main button pusher, my lever puller, my a switcherooer. But I have buttons in front of me that I have to push from time to time. And one of the panels that I have are the cases that we look at. And I had archived the Kouri Richins case. I didn't want to look at her face again. I didn't want to hear her voice again. I didn't want to hear anything about her ever again. But it is the case that just will not die. And I mean, for good reason, right? We want, there, when we're talking about taking away a person's liberty or even their life in some cases, we want there to be protections to make sure that innocent people don't get wrongfully accused, prosecuted, and convicted and sentenced. So I understand the appellate process and all that stuff, but I was so looking forward to not thinking about this person ever again with a stupid pouty look on her face. But it's not the end of the case. It's just not. It's going to keep going. And there will come a point where we don't even have to talk about it, but there were some filings that came out in the case. I was in Utah's exchange system, which is where all of the court records are. And I went, oh, let's check out what's going on in this. Oh, there are over 1,700 documents filed on that case. 1,700. But a couple that came out at the end of last week that I want to go over. They're important. Not to mention, we just had CrimeCon. I did not go. I stayed home because this year I've got just lots of stuff where, I've got a job and I'm not saying people who go to CrimeCon don't have jobs. I've got a day job and I've got to balance, my PTO with the things that I'm going to do this year. And this year, we're doing a very important thing for us, which is a family reunion. And so I'm saving all that time for that. I didn't go to CrimeCon, but there was a panel it was like a juror panel. And one of the jurors from the Kouri Richins case talked on that panel. So I thought that was really interesting and thought that we would talk about that today. Now, I want to start, though, with a question of the day. I sometimes get in a big hurry to get the show going that I need to slow down. I need to slow down. Yesterday, I was on a walk. I tend to do that in the evenings. I go on a walk and have my little earbuds in, and I'm listening to music. And a song came on, which immediately took me back to Teton Valley, Wyoming, driving my 1986 Toyota Supra. And I think I was going about 140 miles an hour when I was I was pulled over that day. This is years ago. This is in the 90s. It was long before I met Kimberly. But they're just songs that will take you back. So here's my question, that this is to get you going in the live chat, right? And in the comments. Wherever you're watching or listening, definitely play along, okay? Question of the day is, what song makes you drive too fast? And bonus points for, how fast is the fastest you've ever driven? Let's say on a road or a highway. Tracks don't count. What is the fastest you have ever driven? Tell me that. Tell me what car you're in. I'd be interested in that. That's kind of fun little information. That will be our question of the day today to get us going. Now, not only are we going to do that, talk to you guys and interact with you guys, we've got, of course, Kouri Richins' case, some docs and some articles to go over. We've got 3 questions. We got some pretty good questions today. We've got some headlines in the Nancy Guthrie case, in the Charlie Kirk case, and kind of a funny little one from Mackenzie Shirilla. Talk about somebody I want to forget. And then we've got a little good news, this one having to do with a sea turtle. So we've got, what do we got? We got 10 gallons of content to put into a 5-gallon show. Let's get going. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. So glad that you are here. If you like to cut through the fluff and the sensationalism in true crime and just have like the steady Eddie conversations, just keeping it cool, keeping it real, keeping it grounded. If that's the kind of thing that you like, then you have found the right place. And I am glad that you have. Wherever you found us, you might be watching live on YouTube, or you might be in the rewatch crew, either on YouTube or Spotify Premium Video, or you might be listening to the podcast all throughout the Fruited Plains and throughout the world. Wherever you're tuning in from, please tell me. So you got 2 assignments. Question of the day, what song makes you drive too fast? Question of the day, part A is, how fast is that? And part B is, what car were you driving when you're going that fast? And then tell me where you're tuning in from. I just love that. And bonus points if you can tell me in a creative way. Let's just jump in, see what you guys are saying over in the live chat. Elizabeth McMaster says, Gavin, this is an easy one. Everlong by Foo Fighters. I do love the Foos. Let's see what else we got here. Christine is saying you'll get right back in the swing of things. Yeah, I'm feeling a little rusty. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. Kaylin coming to us from Southern Michigan. It is nice for me that you've caught alive. Thanks for being here, Kaylin. I'll keep on going. Mooney says, Radar Love by Golden Earring, best fast driving song ever. I only made it to 120 miles an hour, but it was so much fun. Nice. Kaylin says, where did they show the juror panel on CrimeCon? That would be interesting. I have not seen the juror panel, but I read an article in USA Today that we're going to share with you today. It's in the links are in the description. We're going to read the article today. Frida says, I can only say how fast I've driven, 120 on the highway in my stepfather's borrowed Oldsmobile. No song, just a mood. Michelle from Salisbury is tuning in. Amy says, song, I can't drive 55. I couldn't drive 55 going from Clearwater to Orlando back in the day. We played the song, you know? I know that song really well, and that is one that will get you going for sure. Joanne says the Joannosphere. Joanna's here, not the Joannosphere. Joanna's here says, Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue makes me drive too fast, but is great for your cardio workout. 95 and a Saturn view. Nice. Diane asking if I went to CrimeCon. I did not this time. Nope, didn't do it. REM and the Decemberists are my go-to bands, says Pink Pajama Penguin. This is going to take me off on a little bit of a tangent, so we probably should have music. Guys, I once had an employee. She was the greatest. She was the greatest. She told me that when she was a kid, she thought that like the background rhythm singers in the opening sequence of the Lion King were singing pink pajamas, penguins on the bottom. Pink pajamas, penguins on the bottom, which I thought was hilarious and adorable. So thank you for that comment. Pink Pajama Penguin. Cooler by the Lake says, Black Magic Woman by Santana. Pedal to the Metal gets me every time. That is a great one. That is a great one. We got Freebird by Leonard Skinner. Wordsleuth is saying a RAV4 Sport, 160 kilometers per hour, which is probably, what is that, about 100? 160 kph to mph. It's 99.4. Yeah, it's 100 miles an hour. Not bad at all. True Crime Addict says, mine is a road, not a song. 4 miles between Montpelier, Idaho and Bern, Idaho. Every car I've ever driven as fast as I could go. And God's Secretary Sherry says, my favorite speeding song is Run Devil Run. Gets me hyped. That is great. Oh, got a couple more coming in. Thunderstruck by AC/DC, 95 miles an hour all the way from Elverson to Warren, PA in a 2000 six-cylinder manual Jeep Wrangler. That is fast for a Jeep Wrangler. Oh my goodness. Highway Star by Deep Purple. Life is a Highway. Now, that is the very song that came on my headphones, not the remake from Cars, the original one. What's his name? He's Canadian. Can't remember his name. It'll come to me. But yeah, that one's a good one. That one's a good one. And then Barb says, anything Aerosmith on an 8-track while driving my 1972 Buick LeSabre, driving 100 miles per hour. That is... Oh, look, Pink Pajama Penguin says that is totally the origin of this name. It's from the line. Okay, so she's not the only one. I had never heard it before. Ah, yes, it's Tom Cochran. Tom Cochran is the guy who sang that. Yes, yes, yes. And my friend Eric, may he rest in peace, he introduced me to that song in his 1985 Ford F-150. That one was I think it was a 5-speed, but first gear was a combine, and that car would not go very fast. But it was the car that his parents provided, and boy, were we grateful for that. Anyway, that was a fun little game, guys. Thanks for checking in. I really appreciate that. Let's see, just a quick little thing about me. I am a bit of a lead foot. I think the fastest I've ever gone on the road legally is about 160 miles an hour. That would have been in Germany. I think illegally here in the States is about 145. Maybe 140. I might be overstating it. 140, 145. And I've had my share of fast cars that have been fun. In fact, I have a fast car right now. It's pretty fun. But not that I admit to ever going at such speeds in that car here I would just never do that. Anymore, because I'm old and I can't drive the reaction time isn't as good. The other thing is, when I was growing up, many of you know I grew up in Orangevale, California. There was a road in Orangevale called, I think it's an avenue. It might be drive. It's called Santa Juanita. It might be Santa Juanita Avenue. That sounds right. Santa Juanita Drive, Santa Juanita. I think it's Santa Juanita Avenue. And it's kind of, it takes you over into Granite Bay and eventually gets you up into Loomis. But the part in Orangevale, when you turn from Oak Avenue. Those of you from Sacramento, you might know this. You turn from Oak Avenue onto Santa Juanita. You can only go one way, right? So you would be facing north at that point. Well, when we were in high school, we weren't dragging. We were just, that was the place where we take our cars fast. I didn't have a car, nor did I have a license, because my parents wouldn't let me get my driver's license until I was an Eagle Scout, and I never became an Eagle Scout. So I had to wait till I was 18. But anyway, I had lots of friends, mostly girls, who I could convince to let me drive their car. And as you got way down there, it went over a creek, and you could jump the car if you were going fast enough. If you were going 80, 85, you could jump a car. I jumped many a Honda Civic, many a Honda CRX, many a car, many a motorcycle I jumped on that road. And then you had to hit the brakes hard, because then there was a hard turn. And I'm shocked that I lived past that age. But, oh, it was fun. That was a lot of fun. All right, guys. Enough of this jibba jabba. Enough of this jocularity. Let's talk about the case of the day. Of course, we are talking about Kouri Richins, but Kouri Richins is just the character. The victim here is her husband, Eric Richins, who died by fentanyl poisoning, ingesting a lethal amount of fentanyl, enough to kill a herd of elephants, in his cocktail. And then his wife went on to, and the motive here was money. The motive was money. We all know this. She went on to write a grief book for her children, having lost their daddy at her hand. And then she was ultimately convicted, sentenced to life without parole. And that seemed to be that. Where should I start? Let me look at my notes. Where do we want to go? Okay, first, let's just start with the automatic appeal. Okay, this isn't all that terribly interesting, but this was filed on the 26th of last month, and it's just basically giving notice, right? Notice is hereby given that Kouri Richins, defendant / appellant in the above. Hey, Javi, I need to slow down. I'm tripping over my words. My tongue is okay. I'll slow her down. You think you can edit that out in post so that nobody knows what? Okay, thank you. Okay, notice is hereby given that Kouri Richins, defendant / appellant, in the above entitled action. I guess, English is one of these languages where it just changes. I just hate it when the word entitle is used when the word title should be used. In the above titled action. That's the title of the action, not the end title of the action. But it doesn't matter. It's probably, I bet if I look in a dictionary now, entitle is a proper word. We use it so much. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what language does. Okay. But I got to correct it. In the above titled action, hereby appeals to the Utah Supreme Court from the final judgment rendered against her on May 13th, 2026 by the Honorable Judge Mrazik, 3rd District Court in and for Summit County, State of Utah. And then the Supreme Court got back and says, Dear counsel, this court received a notice of appeal and your firm holds the indigent defense contract or jurisdiction is established under the Indigent Appellant Defense Division contract. Please file an appearance of counsel at your earliest convenience and let us know if you have any questions. And that got me thinking. How much has this sad person cost the citizens of the state of Utah? I mean, she has cost him, their children, his extended family, an immeasurable amount. That cost is not quantifiable. But how much has this person cost the state of Utah because she claimed indigency, which means not only is the state on the hook for the cost of prosecution, but also for the cost of defense, right? And I found the information. And this isn't going to end because the appeals process is going to go through. They are asking for a new trial. There's just so much that is going to happen. The bill is just going to keep ringing up and up and up and up. So let's talk about it for a second, okay? This was from about a month ago in the Park Record, written by Peter Herink, Summit County to join state managed program to cover costs of Kouri Richins' appeal. All right, Kouri Richins, the Camus mother of three. I want to correct Peter here, the Francis mother of three. Thank you very much. But okay, the Camus mother of three, who was found guilty of killing her husband, Eric Richins, will be sentenced to 25 years to life in prison with or without the possibility of parole next week. This all happened, blah, blah, blah. Deputy County Manager Jana Young said the county has spent more than $1 million on the case so far. The county is financially responsible for both the prosecution and the defense, as Richins was assigned a public defender in 2024. Young said the county's financial commitments to the case will not change if Richins files an appeal as expected, which we see she did. She said the appeals process would likely be quite expensive and last for multiple years, which is why county staff recommended joining the Indigent Aggravated Murder Defense Fund. Quote, "The issue is, how can we be the best stewards of taxpayer dollars?" Young said in a presentation to County Council on Wednesday. "We weren't aware when the Kouri Richins case came to the county that there was an aggravated murder fund that the state provides to help us with these costs." Close quote. The Indigent Aggravated Murder Defense Fund is a state-managed program that provides financial assistance to counties with aggravated murder cases, which tend to be more expensive, involve more experts, and take more time than a typical murder charge. Aggravated murder charges also open the door for the DP. The fund is essentially a savings account. Counties pay an initial sum to join the program, as well as an annual membership fee. The Utah Indigent Defense Commission oversees participants and the distribution of funds, using the pool of money to cover court costs when a county has an aggravated murder charge in its jurisdiction. So Summit County would have to pay $233,000 to join the program, with an $80,000 charge for each year the county remains an active member. County Council has also the option of backing out of the fund at any time once the year-long contract ends. So anyway, it's cost Summit County about $1 million. It's going to end up costing the entire state of Utah about that $1 million. And it's going to continue to go and go and go. And, one of the things that I read is I like to keep things apolitical around here for you newbies, but there are some things that are political in nature that I don't want to fully take a stand on, because I like to remain apolitical, but have something to do with true crime, and that is the DP. I am of the opinion that there are just some things that you can't make up for. And in those cases, the DP is an appropriate sentence, is an appropriate punishment for murdering children and abusing them for years and years and years. Stephen Stearns. I think it's appropriate. However, there is an argument to be made that because of the long appeals process that is mandated by state law and federal law, whichever applies, but it's in all cases there are mandatory appeals whenever the DP is on the table. It's way, way, way less expensive to imprison people for the rest of their lives than to go through the appeal process to get to the point where their life can be taken. So I think that's a valid argument. I think it's a valid argument. At the end of the day, somebody has to pay for this. It's the taxpayers. And of course, dillholes like Dillholio McDillhole here, they don't take that into consideration. They're completely the center of their own universe. Gravity itself is themselves, right? And they don't think about not only their victim. And in this case, how many victims does she have? Right? She has 4 in that picture alone. So they don't think about the victim and victims. They think about themselves only. It's like they're inside this event horizon where just the very thought of thinking about anybody else can't happen. The gravity is too strong. The self-indulgence and the self-centeredness is just too strong. They can't do it. But who are the other victims? Well, the entire state of Utah, man. She's injured the entire state because the taxpayers of that state will continue footing the bill for her for the rest of her life. And you know what that makes me? It makes me PIST, people. That's what it makes me. Let's see what you guys are saying over in the live chat. Signing in from Erie, PA. Glad to see you. I'm Goddess 1950. Archangel Marici, are you snitching to yourself? A little, or on myself? A little bit. Yeah, but this has been a theme of my year. Each time I've gone out to visit the folks, I think of something new that I need to confess. It started with my visit out there in October, and now every time I go out there, oh yeah, Mom, I wanted to tell you about this time. Nikki says, Happy Tuesday from the blushing pink beaches of Bermuda. Thank you very much for being here, Nikki. Robin says, pretty sure I hit 120 miles an hour driving from Oklahoma to Kansas. Oops. Hey, I have nothing to say about it, Robin. I mean, yeah. I'm Goddess says, my foot loves to go fast, but my income can't afford it. That's funny. Oops, it just refreshed. Let's keep going. Cabling says, kids' brains are definitely not fully formed. We do things as age dictates. No, Gavin. Autumn Doyle says, Gavin needs to fix the court language so us peeps can understand. I hate the end title. I hate people using end title. Rhonda Rogers, help me, Rhonda. 100 miles an hour in a Nissan 200 SX. That's a good one. Help me get her out of my heart. That's a great song. Hub City, Texas is in the house. Leslie Hankins says, joining late, but my uncle worked on tested race cars for Roush. He still owned a few pace cars, so I got to ride shotgun on the motor speedway track. Not sure how fast we went. That's pretty cool. I love it. Love it. All right. I think that Alberta, Canada is here. Melbourne, Australia is here. You guys checking in. I think you might have, I think Melbourne might be the, you might be in the lead for distance. I almost said distance traveled to watch this. You haven't traveled any distance, but the distance itself is impressive nonetheless. All right. Come with me now, will you, over here. Now, these are the documents that came out last week, okay? This one, okay. Here's the deal. Verbally, I think it was Ms. Nestor told Judge Mrazik that at sentencing that they would be appealing for a new trial, and said verbally, hey, we want to make this appeal for a new trial. However, we've got a bunch of stuff going on and we're not going to make the deadline. And so Judge Mrazik, he extended the deadline, said, hey, if you need more time, y'all just let me know. Okay. So they just let him know in this document. Let's read it. Okay. This is in the matter of the state of Utah versus Kouri Richins. Motion to extend time to file motion for a new trial. Comes now the aforesaid Ms. Richins, defendant/appellant in the above titled action, and respectfully moves to extend her deadline to file a motion for new trial for an additional 20 days to June 30th, and in support thereof offers the following. They want more. They want the rest of this month. Paragraph number 1. Trial in this matter commenced February 10th, 2026 with jury selection. We're going to get to that juror, by the way, guys. Stick with us. And thereafter began with opening statements and testimony on February 23rd. The trial continued until the verdict was reached on March 17th, 2026. The jury found Ms. Richins guilty on all counts. Ms. Richins appeared for sentencing before this court on May 13th, 2026, which was her late husband's birthday, by the way, we all remember. After sentence was pronounced, defense counsel requested an extension of time to file a motion for new trial. The court extended the deadline to file the motion for new trial to June 10th and directed the defense to file a written motion by May 27th if additional time would be needed. From May 13th through May 16th, Ms. Nestor was attending a conference out of state. Okay. Oh, that's right. She wasn't there. It wasn't Ms. Nestor. Was it Ms. Lewis? It doesn't matter. Okay, on May 20th, Ms. Richins was transported to the Utah State Prison and placed on automatic lockdown for 30 days, preventing her from communicating with her attorneys during that time. Okay, that's paragraph 4. I feel like that is bunk. I feel like the appeals process automatically starts right after sentencing, and there are statutory limits to, or limitations on when these things can be filed. Putting an inmate on automatic lockdown for 30 days and preventing her from communicating with her attorneys, that doesn't even, somebody who knows, give me a comment on this. Put GF in your comment so that I can see it on my side. But that seems like an excuse that's total bunk. Okay. Paragraph 5. On May 26th, Ms. Lewis experienced a death in her family and as a result will be required to travel out of state for funeral services from May 29th through June 2nd. Those kinds of things happen, and that sucks. Very sorry for Ms. Lewis. Ms. Nestor will be traveling out of the country from May 29th through June 11th. The motion for new trial covers several issues that require attachments from the written transcripts as well as video clips. These attachments are taking a significant amount of time to prepare in light of the lengthy trial record and need to edit video clips. Okay, so my question here, like, I don't automatically want to say, no, you don't get an extension. Plus, it's not up to me anyway, right? But I don't like the idea of prolonging these things, especially when there is an economic incentive to do so. And I'm not accusing Ms. Nestor, Ms. Lewis, Mr. Ramos of anything. I'm just saying the incentive exists for them to drag this out over a long period of time to be able to get as many billable hours as possible. I'm not saying they are doing that. I'm saying they would have to work hard to fight against doing that. And are the 3 attorneys the only ones who can work on this case, or do they have, like every other law office in the nation, junior associates, paralegals, researchers, IT guys, secretaries? There are plenty of people besides the 2 attorneys that work on this, that can work on this, right? Again, if you have expertise on this, let me know, because I just, like, there's just so many video clips that we need to attach, written transcripts, and that takes a long time. And I'm going to be gone on vacation. Well, I wouldn't expect the lead attorney to be editing video. I would expect an assistant of some sort, a junior, an associate, a paralegal, somebody, your nephew's kids, to be editing video. I mean, come on. But okay. Paragraph 8. Due to the above discussed travel conflicts and the inability to communicate with their client, undersigned counsel do not have sufficient time to complete the motion and attachments by June 10th and will require an additional 20 days to do so. This is reminding me that this is a bit of a tangent. Should we do it? Should we go on a tangent? Yeah, let's go on a tangent. Oh, yeah. Okay. Look, there is this case that I'm following in the state of Utah. It's a civil case, and it's the reason I was in exchange in the first place today. I was looking up this case. Okay, but here's what happened. 2 people are suing another person for defamation in the state of Utah. Doesn't really. I've written about it on my blog, but I kind of feel like the plaintiffs in this action have the world's worst lawyers. But so they had an oral argument, I think in December. I think it was December. And in that argument, well, in that hearing, the judge kicked a whole bunch of their causes of action, but left, I think, one, maybe two to go through, and gave an oral ruling, and then assigned plaintiff's counsel to write up the ruling. Plaintiff's counsel says, yes, I can do that, Judge, no problem. Okay. I find out about this on like the 9th or 10th of January when I finally get the audio recording of the hearing. And so I'm like, okay, I need to be looking forward to this filing, right? So every week or so I will go in. It shouldn't be too long. I mean, like these kinds of orders, guys, I go to hearings all the time where the judge will just from the bench will say, okay, and here's my order. Now, wherefore, this 2nd day of June, 2026, the court orders as following. And then, and they'll just give it like verbally, and then somebody writes up the order, presents it to the judge to sign it. It's not it's the verbal thing. It's really easy. But I'm going in there week after week and no order. So I think in February, I call counsel for both sides. And just in my capacity as a reporter, I'm covering this case. And the defense counsel does not return my calls. Plaintiff's counsel full on has a conversation with me. I took copious notes, and he basically said, you know what, Gavin, in the state of Utah, there's just a custom where, yeah, I'll write it up. I need to present it to counsel, and they need to make sure that it's correct before, and it goes back and forth so that when we give it to the judge, then we'll all be in agreement. We won't have to fight over anything. The judge will sign it, and that will be the order. I said, oh, okay. So, I mean, is this something that we should be expecting soon? He said, probably by the end of the week. I think that's what he said. It's going to be soon. But it's not uncommon for it to take a while. Okay, fair enough. So I think that was, I don't know, end of February. So I went in there a couple weeks ago to look to see, okay, the order's in there. No order. There hasn't been anything added to the docket since January 9th. So, like, okay, I call both sides again. Defense counsel doesn't return my call. And plaintiff's counsel actually makes an appointment for me to call back the next day. I take copious notes, and he's like, yeah, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen, but my colleague is writing it all up. We've talked with the other side. It's gone back and forth several times. We're about to do it. We're about to file it. Okay. All right. I guess. I mean, I've never seen a verbal order take 6 months, but okay. And I went in there today, still not there. And I just think that, like, sometimes attorneys are just BS artists, especially like and I'm like, this applies to every profession, okay? There are good and bad seeds amongst every profession. But I think specific to the law, they're just so practiced at speaking and presenting arguments that they're just very good at talking. And I bet if I called him right now, it'd be too late, but in the day. But I bet if I called him right now, he'd say, "Oh yeah, it's at the other sides," and I doubt it. So when I'm sorry for the long tangent, but when I then see this where they're like, due to the above discussed travel conflicts and the inability to communicate with their client, undersigned counsel do not have sufficient time to complete the motion and attachments by June 10th and will require an additional 20 days to do so. I kind of go, yeah? I mean, really? Do you? And I kind of feel like Judge Mrazik is kind of that way too. Remember, they wanted to postpone the sentencing, and he's like, you've got fine counsel, you've got 3 people representing her that are all great counsel. If one of you is gone, it's going to be fine. You know, it was like that. Like he sees through the BS too. Come on. It shouldn't even be you doing this. It should be you leading this. But okay, anyway. Continuing on. Rule 24B of the Utah Rules of Criminal Procedure states, a motion for new trial shall be made in writing, and upon notice, the motion shall be accompanied by affidavits or evidence of the essential facts in support of the motion. If additional time is required to procure affidavits or evidence, the court may postpone the hearing on the motion for such time as it deems reasonable. Rule 24C continues in paragraph 10 of the Utah Rules of Criminal Procedure, specifically authorizes this court to extend the time to file a motion for new trial as long as the court does so before the expiration of the time for filing the motion, which is currently set for June 10th. None of the parties will experience any prejudice as a result of the 20-day extension. Wherefore, Ms. Richins respectfully requests a 20-day extension to file her motion for new trial, making same due on or before June 30th, 2026. And that was signed by Ms. Nestor on behalf of all 3. Okay? Now, next thing that happens is on the 30th. Was that Friday, I think? Yes. The state responds with their opposition to the defendant's second motion to extend time to file motion for a new trial. So they're like, nah, we're going to oppose this. Sometimes they'll be like, whatever. Yeah, you got a death in the family. Yeah, you're traveling. You've gone to a conference. You're going overseas. I get it. We're all attorneys. We like to travel. Whatever. But they do in brackets note that this is the second motion to extend time, and they're like, we are opposed. All right, the state of Utah requests that the court deny the defendant's second motion to extend time to file motion for new trial. The defendant has not set forth sufficient grounds for further extending the time, and the victims deserve as much finality as possible. The court has permitted the defendant 86 days from verdict to move for a new trial, including 28 days from sentencing, which is twice the amount of time allotted by Rule 24 of the Utah Rules of Criminal Procedure. This amount of time is more than sufficient for 3 well-qualified attorneys to prepare a motion for new trial, notwithstanding the brief unavailability of 2 of them. Contrary to the motion, counsel has full access to the defendant even though she is locked down. See State of Utah, Department of Corrections, Department Manual FD06, Legal Access. See also Utah Admin Code, 251-707. Members of the prosecution team have already scheduled time away based upon a calculation of when post-trial litigation would reasonably conclude. If the court grants the motion, the state requests that the court set September 4th, 2026 as the state's response deadline. So they're like, hey, okay, I'm calling shenanigans. The defense has access to their client. Come on. Yeah, she's probably on automatic lockdown. Okay, fine, but she has access to counsel. Here are the rules. And they've had so much time already. You can't get this together in 86 days. They've had plenty of time. And then they did the very lawyerly thing, which is, and if you grant the motion, then please give us more time. Out to September. Now, I've not seen a ruling yet. I haven't seen a ruling on it yet. But that is where we are in the case. That by Mr. Bloodworth, right? Let's see, by Ms. Olson on behalf of Mr. Bloodworth. So, yeah, like there's Mr. Olson delegating. Oh, who'd have thunk? Delegation. What a great idea. Let's bring up Eric's photo while we take a look to see your comments real quick. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys for the supers. From Just Ducky says, I'll start. Thanks, Gavin, for everything in mods. Thank you. I appreciate that, Ducky. And then Christine Meadows, I appreciate you as well. Thank you very much for your super. Robin, thank you. This $5 will get me a gallon of gas. It will. We do have high gas prices. Thank you, guys. Thanks for getting us started. Let's see. Elizabeth McMaster says, Gavin, hey now. Hey now. I know. Don't get in a defensive posture, Elizabeth McMaster's Esquire. I did qualify by saying that in any profession, in any and all professions, there are bad seeds. I'm just saying that lawyers are talented orators, right? Muy talented ioso, I would say. Cabling says, I heard these are 3 attorneys in 2 separate law offices, so why can't they figure out between the 3 of them and the help? Exactly. Cabling, it is Bunk Gavin, and he gave them more time. He did. Just Ducky asking, what is the difference between a new trial and any appeal hearing trial? Yeah, they are 2 different things. So the appeal is automatic. It goes through the appeals court, right? And they would be looking for different reasons why the trial court erred during the trial, as in errored, how they erred during the trial, in order to maybe bias the jury or prejudice the jury or take away some of the rights of the defendant. They will make that appeal through the appeals process, and they have already they've already started that process. The motion for a new trial is a separate branch. It stays in the trial court. It will have likely the same kinds of arguments, right? Our client didn't have a fair trial. Our client was prejudiced, or the jury was prejudiced against them. If something crazy like the Becky Hill situation happened, right, they'd bring something like that up. But it stays in the trial court. And this is kind of automatic stuff. This is just automatic stuff. We're going to try for a new trial here. We're gonna throw as much as we can against the wall and see what sticks. So yeah, one goes to the appeals court, one stays at the trial court. Tina May, thank you very much for your super chat. Appreciate you. Lynn Taylor saying, Gavin, could this be because they're wrapped up with the Tyler Robinson case? Sure. Yeah, they likely have hundreds of cases that they are managing right now. Probably hundreds in each office of cases that they're managing right now. But not every case requires every bit of their attention in all moments. In fact, I think maybe the biggest talent that a lawyer has is timekeeping, time tracking, right? That's actually pretty impressive that they can do that, but it's still not an excuse. You've still got to be able to do it. That's why they're getting paid by the state of Utah, the big bucks for this case. Code of 006, thank you very much for your super chat. I appreciate you. Guys are amazing. Thank you. Hey, is the goal working? Is YouTube's goal working now? It is on this one. Good. The goal is working. That is great. All right. Yeah, we're halfway to our goal. Okay. Let's bring you over to the next piece. This from USA Today. A report from Nadia Yancey Bragg and James Powell. And this is a report from CrimeCon. Headline reads, Punch in the Gut, Juror Reflects on Kouri Richins' case at CrimeCon. Do you guys have a hard time saying the word juror? I do. It's a hard word. I don't know what its intonation is, or it's not edit. What is the word that I'm looking for? I totally butchered that. Etymology. Yeah, etymation. Anyway, I don't know what its provenance is, but it's a hard word. And it reminds me of that scene in 30 Rock where they flash back to Jenna singing the Rural Juror song. It's hilarious. Anyway, okay, Dateline Las Vegas. Jurors from 2 headline murder trials gave a glimpse into the jury room at the Behind the Verdict Serving on a High-Profile Jury panel held at CrimeCon 2026 in Las Vegas on May 31st. Christy Halverson, juror number 3 in the Kouri Richins case, said that her brain hurt during the 3-week-long trial and that the general public did not understand the toll serving on a high-profile case takes. Yeah, I think, like, you guys know, I have served on a murder trial. I have been a juror on a double homicide case, and it was no scrutiny by the national press, by the talking heads, people like me, right? No scrutiny, and the toll is still heavy. So I can only imagine. The appearance comes months after the jury she served on found Richins, a Utah mother of 3, guilty of first-degree aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, forgery, and insurance fraud in connection with the death of her husband on March 16th. They found her guilty on March 16th. He did not die on March 16th. That sentence was kind of strangely worded. Anyway, Richins has denied killing Eric Richins and vowed to appeal her conviction. Halverson was joined by juror number 4 in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, identified only as Laura, who said that she wished she could have handed the so-called doomsday mom the old DP. I couldn't believe she could do that to her own kids, she said. Here's what to know from CrimeCon 2026. And I'm just going to do the Kouri part. Eric Richins, 39. Juror calls Kouri Richins' trial surreal. Eric Richins, 39, was found dead on March 4th, 2022 of a fentanyl overdose at the couple's home in Francis, Utah, everybody, a small mountain town about 40 miles east of Salt Lake City. Chief Prosecutor Brad Bloodworth told jurors that Kouri Richins was deeply in debt when she asked her house cleaner to buy her illicit street drugs and twice poisoned her husband in hopes of getting his money. Bloodworth said she left Eric Richins a poisoned sandwich on Valentine's Day in 2022, and when that didn't kill him, gave him a celebratory drink laced with fentanyl a few weeks later. Over the course of just 3 months after Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins spent $1.3 million in life insurance payments, according to testimony and financial records presented at trial. A man who said he was having an affair with Kouri Richins testified, saying that she asked him if he ever killed anyone and how it made him feel. As the investigation continued, Kouri Richins hired a ghostwriting company to pen a children's book about grief and went on television to promote it, the lead detective in the case testified. Halverson said that she had no knowledge of the case, this is the juror, before being impaneled. And isn't that interesting? Because to us, we live in a bubble. We live in a bubble of crime, of true crime. And it's because of who we are and what is important to us, right? It's like our hobby. We live in this bubble and we believe that everybody, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I think we sometimes believe that everybody is paying attention to the same stuff we are. And the truth is, that's not the case. I was going to look up Summit County, Utah population right now is 43,000 people. It's a small rural county up in the Uinta Basin of the Rocky Mountains. It's so out of the 43,000 people, that's what the voir dire process is for, right? Out of 43,000 people, yeah, they found people that are like, I have no idea. Guys, Summit County is one of those places where, having moved away in 1984, I can go to Summit County right now. Like, I was 8 when we moved away. And I can go to Summit County right now. I can go into a store or a cafe or whatever. I can go to the rodeo, whatever. And I will run into somebody who will say something like, I don't know you, what's your name? And I'll tell them my name and they'll like, oh, are you? And then they'll name my parents, or usually my mom. Are you her boy? Yeah. So your grandparents would be, and they'll name them. Yeah. Who's your dad? Oh, he's from Heber. Oh, are his parents? Yeah. It's that kind of place. And in that kind of place of only 43,000 people, it's not a problem to find people who have not heard anything about the case. It's not a problem. So anytime there's a motion filed in any of these cases where we're finding that we're covering, where the prosecution or it's usually the defense is saying, hey, we want to change a venue because it's the jury pool is so oversaturated with this. Everybody knows about this case. We're not going to be able to impanel an impartial jury. The rule, at least in my mind, for that is bunko. No, bullcrap. You will be able to find, I bet all you have to do is grab 200 people and you will find 14 to 16 that have no idea what's going on here. Because most people don't pay attention to this stuff. They're working their jobs and they're looking after their grandkids and they're doing errands and they're changing light bulbs and they're doing all the things. They're planning their vacations. They're not paying attention usually to the murder, even if it happened down the street. Usually. So that was quite a bit of a diatribe. But you guys, like anytime you see usually the defense argue, hey, we're not going to be able to get a fair trial here. It's bullcrap. That's what voir dire is designed to do, and you will get a you'll get jurors. I mean, case in point. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Halverston said she had no knowledge of the case before being impaneled, but that there was not a day she did not internalize the facts of the case, which she called mind-blowing. I think about the case every single day, she said. Kouri Richins' lawyers questioned the prosecution's witnesses, but did not call a single witness of their own. Halverston called the moment the defense rested surreal and added that Kouri Richins appeared pretty much stone-faced to the jury throughout the trial. The jury deliberated for 3 hours to reach the verdict, which Halverston described as feeling like a long time, despite it being a short deliberation for a murder case. Quote, "We as a jury just wanted to lay eyes on every piece of evidence before we made a decision that impacted somebody for the rest of their lives," Halverston said. After her conviction, Eric Richins' family, the couple's children, the prosecution asked the court to impose the maximum sentence. Kouri Richins repeatedly denied killing her husband in a message to her children before she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on May 13th. Quote, I will not be blamed for something I did not do. I cannot believe gambling is happening in this institution. I cannot. Oh, thank you for the winnings. Yeah. I will not be blamed for something I did not do, she said in court. When asked if she had anything to say about the trial to Kouri Richins, Halverston responded, I would have nothing to say to her except we got it right. She said she felt a pit in my stomach the moment the jury handed down the verdict, and that listening to it being replayed during the opening of the panel gave her a punch in the gut. Halverston revealed during the panel that following an interview with journalist Nate Eaton, the defense's private investigator contacted her family, and a defense lawyer attempted to have her admit to an error on one of the guilty counts in a phone conversation. Hey, you know what we need here, guys? We need Uncle Gavin.
Hi, kids, Uncle Gavin here.
All right, kids. It's your Uncle Gavin. Thanks for joining me today. I suppose you're wondering why I called you here. Listen, if you're ever impaneled on a jury, okay, don't talk to the defense attorney on the phone. Don't do that. Don't talk to the media. Now, I'm like, okay, hold on. Guys, you don't know this, but look, it's me. When I take off these glasses, it's me. I know it looks like Uncle Gavin with the glasses, but it's me. But okay, so I know this is crazy that I'm going to say this, but don't talk to the media. I'm a reporter. Jurors, don't talk to the media. Okay, going back to Uncle Gavin. Jurors, don't talk to the media. Okay, I'm glad you do, but just save yourself the hassle. Having said that, coming back to Gavin mode here, um, I came very close to calling jury members on a trial once. Because I went and I inspected the record, and in that record was a spreadsheet that had all of their names and phone numbers. And I came very close to calling and said, "Don't do that. Don't do that, Gavin. Just let it go. Let them live their lives, and you can just get it going." Okay, so USA Today reached out to Kouri Richins' defense lawyers for comment, and then it goes on to the juror that talked about Lori Vallow Daybell, who is just a psycho. But I found that to be interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. Let's see what you guys are saying on the old live chatteroo. Was there one other? No, I think that's it in this case that I want to share with you. In the live chatteroo, let's see if there's anything else. Robin says the word rural is my struggle word. I will never forget you, Rura. That might have been the funniest moment of TV ever. My wife has such a hard time saying rural and juror. It's really funny. Kay Bling says, "What's with the commercials during the live? I know some of us cannot afford to pay, especially when we're on a fixed income, but still need to understand." Yeah, this is how I get paid for making this content. Is commercials pay. That's how I get paid. And yeah. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and I deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, that's all we have on Kouri Richins. Thank the universe. Like I just don't want to talk about her. I know we're going to have to eventually, but I wanted to take this little button. I want to put it in the archive again and not think about it. In fact, I'm going to do this now. I'm gonna pull it up, make sure we're in the archive. We are, and then I can delete it out of here. Okay, Kouri Richins' name is no longer on the old Stream Deck. I don't know. Can you guys see this? No Kouri Richins anywhere on the old Stream Deck. So that's good. That makes me happy. But don't worry, despair not. We still have a little more show to go. We've got some headlines that I want to share with you in regards to Mackenzie Shirilla, the Nancy Guthrie case, the Charlie Kirk murder, the case against Tyler Robinson. We've got some good news to get to. But before we do that, how about we get into 3 questions, shall we?
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! All right, guys. In this segment, I answer 3 of your questions that you send to me by email to the email address on your screen, 3questions@gavinfish.com, 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's spelled out, not using no numeral here. I ain't got to use no numeral. I'm using alpha, the alphabet. That's what I'm using. THREE questions@gavinfish.com. You can send in any question or multiple questions. I just take them from my email and I put them into a spreadsheet, and then I choose them, the ones that I'm feeling I'm going to answer today. So the deal that I make with you is that I will answer all the questions. I won't dodge any, but I answer them 3 at a time, and I do so in the order that I see fit. So what is question number 1? Question number 1 coming to us from Zoe. Zoe asks, out of all the places that you went to on business, what 3 places would you like to revisit the most, and 3 places that you would not want to revisit? Actually, I don't want to sound snotty or ungrateful, because my dream in my professional career was to travel for business. I got the real bug for experiencing other cultures when, as a young man, I served as a missionary in Argentina. It was eye-opening. And it was it was not fun in a lot of ways, but it was so fun in a lot of ways of going, hey, this is a completely different culture than my own. And when I got the taste of that, in fact, when I came back to the States, I really just wanted to go back there. Couldn't find a job. I needed an education. Uh, so my dream was to travel internationally for business, and I did accomplish that. Now here's the snotty part of it. After a while, though, it too much of a good thing is still too much. So, and I tended to go to the same places like at the same time of year every year, right? I knew in May I would be in Munich. I knew in October I would be in Denver. I knew in June I would be in Hong Kong. I knew that in February I would be in Stockholm in Sweden. There were just places where pretty much every month out of the year there was a place that I knew that I was going to be. And and then when I would get there and I would do the business, say it was like a conference or a show that needed to be done, or a presentation, I would do that. But then I would spend the next week or so, traveling to other places while I'm on the continent, right? So the harder part of this question for me is the what places would I like to revisit? Because I revisited those places over and over and over again. So I don't want to sound like a total snot. What three places would I not want to revisit? Pretty all of them. that's, that's not really. I don't really feel that way. I have great memories in a lot of those places. We're some place where I've just been too much. Um, yeah, I'd probably say like Bangkok. I don't need to be to. I don't need to go to Bangkok ever again. I don't need to do that. It's a beautiful place, but it, I yeah, I don't need to be there. Um, I was gonna say Paris because that used to be a place that I would just go to all the time, but we have a son who wants to go to Paris, and that makes me want to go to Paris. And so when he reaches the age where we do that with him, we will go there. So probably like Bangkok, Hong Kong. I don't really want to go back to Hong Kong because it's a different place um, than it was when I first went there. And probably like mm, probably Munich, just because I went so often, and it kind of started to feel like home away from home. It's just like it was just there all the time. It's a great place though, but if I'm going to spend money going places, um, one of the places that I really want to revisit, and I think we're going to do in 2027, is Argentina. We're going to go to Cordoba, uh, and we're going to go to a couple specific places. That's not business, but I'd definitely go there. We'll go back to Paris because we have a son that wants to go there, and then I don't know. I enjoy the Mediterranean, so maybe like Nice would be cool to go to. I don't care. We'll just go where we go. Let's just put it that way. When Kimberly and I went to Portugal last year, it was for the purpose of finding a place to like. We wanted to take our family to live, so we're open to going places, and Portugal was beautiful. It's wonderful. So was Spain. Yeah. Anyway, question number two. Oh, this came in. This was like a series of questions. And I felt like I've just got to answer this. It was an anonymous email name, so I don't know who this is. How much money would be needed to solve a particular case? And it kind of came with, I would give you money to solve a case, was kind of the the way the email went. Here is the thing. There are some cases that just aren't solvable. And there are some people who will be paid to work on cases that the likelihood of them solving is very low, but the incentive for them to keep working on it is high because they're getting paid. And I'm not saying getting paid for your work is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, if you anonymous are in a case where you have a loved one who their case isn't solved, the kind of person that you want to find, I think, is like a Tom Brennan kind of guy. Tom Brennan is the private investigator that has been working with the Greenbergs for years and years and years. He's a former Pennsylvania state homicide investigator. But he only charges them his costs. And that's it. He does everything else pro bono. And there are lots of fine investigators who are retired that can do that. And that's who you want to find. Now, there are people that can do research for you and stuff like that that maybe you'll want to pay or your investigator would want to pay. But there's some cases where I don't know how much money you throw at it. It's probably not going to be solved. I'm not saying that the Greenbergs is one of those. I'm not, because it definitely isn't. But I don't know. I don't know if that's a good enough answer, but that's the way I'm feeling. And question number 3 from Kelly. Speaking of the Greenbergs, is there anything happening in the Ellen Greenberg case? Do you think her family will ever get any justice? There's a lot going on in the Ellen Greenberg case. There's a lot of work happening, not only in the private sector, but also in the public sector. On the federal level, there are things that are happening. People are being called, people are being questioned. And those people are reporting back that they're being questioned. So I know that there are federal efforts on this. Do I think her family will ever get justice? Yes. I think this case is completely solvable. It just requires cutting through the corruption in Philadelphia. And I'm hoping that the federal government will be able to do that. Josh and Sandy Greenberg are people that I really love. I hardly ever talk with Josh. I do talk with Sandy a lot. I kind of consider her a bonus mom. Most of the time we just talk about life, though. We just talk about, she asks about the family and the kids, and I ask about Josh and, her family and, the nieces and nephews and who's getting married and, what activities are happening this summer. It's those kind of, we talk about the case a little bit, but most of the time it's just two friends that are chatting because we love each other. So yeah, there is stuff happening there. I think that her family will get justice. And I think that, it takes true grit that Josh and Sandy Greenberg have in order to get that justice. Now, one of the things I like about true crime is, Three Questions is when you guys are able to answer questions. 2 of these questions are not really that, but of all the places that you've visited, tell me the place you'd like to revisit the most and the place that you would like to stay away from. And while you are doing that, we will hop on into headlines. Okay, here we go.
True crime headlines.
Okay, this first headline was delivered to me by Kate Bird. Now I'm questioning myself. I think it is Kate. I think Kate is the one. No, guys, I don't want to give credit to the wrong person. Yes, it is Kate. Okay, it's Kate, everyone. We can just relax. Kate Bird writes for CrimeCon, which is my true crime website. If you go to gavinfish.com, there is a CrimeCon link. There's also CrimeCon article links that you can click on. Any one of them will take you over to CrimeCon, and this is a full news website and a newsletter that you can subscribe to. Please, Kate does great writing. Jacob does great writing. The whole team does really, really good job. It's at crimecod.com, or if you just go to gavinfish.com, click on CrimeCon, that will take you there. This from people.com, written by Bailey Richards. Mackenzie Shirilla says she wants to be a, quote, life coach if she gets released from prison. That's what the world needs, is Mackenzie Shirilla coaching people how to live their lives. It would be hilarious if it weren't so tragic. Okay. In fact, I think I archived Mackenzie's as well, but let's not forget Dominic Davion, right? It's not just about you, Mackenzie. But okay, Mackenzie Shula is planning her future should she be released from jail. The 21-year-old is currently serving 2 concurrent terms of 15 years to life in prison at an Ohio women's prison in Marysville for killing her boyfriend and a friend in a high-speed crash in 2022. While speaking with her mom, Natalie Sharilla, during a phone call from jail, Mackenzie expressed a desire to use her experiences to become a, quote, life coach. According to audio of the call obtained by TMZ, it is unclear when the call took place. Quote, all the things you've been experiencing, it's so much, so many highs and lows, ups and downs, a pillar of strength, my love, Natalie told her daughter, who has been pushed back into the spotlight following the May 15th release of The Crash, a Netflix documentary about Mackenzie's case. Quote, yes, like, man, like, I just want to come home and just like, I don't even know, Mackenzie then told her mom per TMZ. As Natalie suggested that her daughter, who is eligible for parole in 2037 per the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, use her experiences to help others. She continued, you're going to be able to help so many more people than you already were. You know what I mean? Just because of your experiences. In response, Mackenzie replied, I'm a be a life coach and stuff. I'm just going to be everything. I'm a do everything. I'm just going to be everything. I'm a do everything. This entire quote needs to be on a mug. I'm gonna be a life coach and stuff. I'm just going to be everything. I'm gonna do everything. Mackenzie Sharilla. I'm gonna be a life coach and stuff. Mackenzie Sharilla. Oh, that's precious. Except that there are 2 dead boys. That there's nothing funny about that. Oh my goodness. We take crime seriously, guys. We take victims seriously. We take victims' families seriously. We do not take ourselves seriously. And I certainly did not take this young woman seriously at all. Okay, next headline for you is in the Nancy Guthrie case. This was written by our friend Michael Ruiz for Fox Digital. It was published on Fox 4 News. He says FBI's next move in Nancy Guthrie case could finally expose suspect, expert predicts. The FBI has been discussing bringing new tech tools to the Nancy Guthrie cut off weird there. They declined to elaborate. Morgan Wright, the CEO and founder of the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases, said he believes the tools are likely focused on one of 3 areas. Quote, the solution to this case is going to be, I think, something technical, something they come up with, new ways of analyzing data, he told Fox News Digital. I'm looking at the video forensics, signals analysis, blockchain kind of stuff. Video forensics could include technology that enhances publicly known or unknown video to help identify either the suspect or his vehicle. Signal analysis could include cell site or ad tech data analysis, and the blockchain could expose whoever was behind the ransom and extortion attempts, whether they were legitimate or not. If I'm going to put it into 3 buckets, I'd say it's going to come out of one of those 3 buckets, right? The editor and host of Crime Reconstructed Substack and podcast added. Investigative genetic genealogy could still provide a major breakthrough, he said, but that's not new tech. So that's what he thinks, that it's going to be something technological. And then in the Charlie Kirk murder case, written by Jack Healy for New York Times, judge rejects defense request to close hearings in Charlie Kirk murder case, which is good news. Good news. A judge overseeing the trial of the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk rejected on Monday an effort by the defense to restrict the public from a hearing that would lay out much of the evidence in the case. It was the latest attempt by lawyers for the defendant, Tyler J. Robinson, to limit public access to one of the country's most highly scrutinized murder cases. Blah, 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 blah. Mr. Robinson's defense has sought to close other hearings in the Utah trial, keep motions and evidence under seal, and restrict news coverage of the case, arguing that the intense media attention will lead to negative publicity, prejudicing potential jurors and denying Mr. Robinson's right to a fair trial. Again, bonk. Bull crap. Bunk. So on Monday, Judge Graff said Mr. Robinson's lawyers failed to demonstrate that their concerns about negative publicity outweighed the public's right to an open judicial process. So good. That is good. Now, before we go on to the next one is good news of the day. We like to leave a positive taste in our mouths, right? So we're going to do some good news. Wanda, can you give us some barbershop here?
Glad tidings fill the air today. Worries seem to drift away. Hearts grow light with every word. Joyful news is sweetly heard.
Wanda, that bass voice of yours is amazing. It just adds such depth, such timbre. The harmonic structures that you guys put together are second to none. Well done to you. All right. You guys know I love good news about animals. Here we go. Rare hybrid sea turtle Earl Grey released into the Atlantic Ocean. Earl Grey is his name. Written by Jillian Magtoto for Georgia Public Broadcasting. When the first cold snap of winter hits the hook of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, sea turtle rescuers get busy. Quote, when sea turtles start to get really, really cold and they start swimming south, a lot of times they will get caught in that hook, said Janie Gaskin, director of the Georgia Sea Turtle Center on Jekyll Island. It usually ends up being at least hundreds, if not thousands, that strand on the beach and need to be rescued. But Gaskin and others noticed one of them looked a little odd. A hook at the tip of the beak and a round shell made it look like Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, while distinct ridges on its shell also indicated it could be a loggerhead. Genetic testing proved that the turtle, named Earl Grey, was a rare product of both species and the first confirmed hybrid the center has seen. Here's a little picture of Earl Grey. Does he look to you like he has a Southern California accent? It doesn't matter. Okay. It could be that there's hybrids out there, Gaskin said. We're not sure, but I do also have a theory that this is something new that the turtles are doing to ensure the survival of their species. Gaskin says that Kemp's Ridley turtles, the most endangered sea turtle species in the world, are picky. They like to forage on certain prey and nest in a limited area, but when mixed with more generalist species, they might be able to widen their prey pool and broaden that range. Quote, having loggerhead genetics actually might be a strength for Earl Grey, Gaskin said. After 6 months of rehabilitation and care, Gaskin returned Earl Grey to the Atlantic Ocean last week, outfitted with satellite tracking tags. Look at Earl Grey. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. A rescued hybrid turtle that nobody knew existed, put back into the ocean where it'll be tracked and more scientific knowledge can be uncovered because of it. That's good news, isn't it? That is great news. All right, let's finish this up, guys. Let's finish this up strong. Oh, I'm supposed to say, and those guys are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okay, let's go back to your comments here. Just a couple that I'm seeing here. Frida People says, yes to Bear Haven Campground in West Virginia and Grand Teton. No to Tijuana, Mammoth Cave, and the Bahamas. All right. Frida People says, life sentence coach? That's good. That is good. Hey, Jenny has been a member for 5 months. Glad to see you, Jenny. Glad that you caught alive. Thank you very much for being here. Crafty Chris, I just saw this. Reminds me of the Cash Me Outside girl. That's funny. Autumn says, I'm going to be locked up a while, though. Kaylin says, the Grand Canyon, Colorado, Key West is where I'd like to revisit. Awesome. And Debbie says, what a great name for a turtle. Earl Grey. Yeah, he's a good looking turtle too. He's a gray boy for sure. Earl Grey. That's good stuff. Hey guys, thanks for spending your time with me. Thank you for the super chats and stickers today. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to my patrons. Thanks to those of you who join us on Facebook in the fish tank. If you go to my old website, gavinfish.com, click on the little fishy icon that will take you to the tank where we hang out on Facebook. You are always, always, always welcome to join us there. Also, remember to check out CrimeCon. Join the list. We do a weekly newsletter, which reminds me, I didn't get it sent out today. It's got to go out tomorrow, Gavin. Okay, I'm gonna set an alarm so that I send that out. But it doesn't overwhelm your inbox. It's a weekly newsletter. Sign up for it. And with that, guys, I will bid you adieu. We're going to see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.